he's doing the 4 bills next week. So
because we're making him. Because we're making him.
But he's doing it. So to push now to blow up all of the wins that you all have had now.
Which wins? Please enumerate them.
Well, okay. Well, how about the fact that he has set up a weaponization committee to investigate the DOJ, whether they're involved in a cover-up?
That's
how about the fact that he has... Hold on.
Wait
how
a
about
second.
the fact that he... Hold on. How about the fact that he has set up the China Select Committee to keep China to account? And, of course, he has launched this inquiry into impeachment, potentially, for President Biden. Is that not what you want?
None of those things are deliverables. Those are steps in a process. Setting up a committee is an end unto itself, only in Washington, D.C. The American people demand results. Hold on, I'll let you talk.
Okay,
Maria,
go ahead.
These committees have done nothing to reduce inflation. They've done nothing to actually constrain the Biden government. We can set up committees and have hearings and yell at people, but at the end of the day, if we still send the check to fund a weaponized government, having a weaponization subcommittee is little relief to the American people. And if any of this was serious, we would be sending out subpoenas and compelling process the way the January 6th committee did.
Some conservatives aren't shy about how much they crave a civil war in America, and it seems like their wishes come true. Except the war is between Representative Matt Gaetz' faction of Congress and Speaker Kevin McCarthy over the looming government shutdown, with Maria Bartiromo facing off with Gaetz here. So, of course, they fighting.
Now joining us, one of the people holding up an agreement to fund the government, Florida Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz. Congressman, thank you very much for being here this morning.
Thank you. I'm glad I get to respond to your monologue, because if you're saying that I'm standing in the way of all the Republican wins, I'd love you to enumerate them. I think we ought to fight on all fronts. I think the border is very important. And the best way for us to advance the Republican border policies is to pass the Department of Homeland Security Appropriations Bill, do that along with veterans, defense, ag, state and foreign ops. We'll have 73% of the discretionary budget funded. And if, the Department of Labor and Education have to shut down for a few days as we get their appropriations in line, that's certainly not something that is optimal, but I think it's better than continuing on the current path we are. I want to fund the government. I'm not pro-shutdown, but the way to fund the government is not the same way we've been doing it since the mid-90s, where it's one up or down vote on the entire government all at once. We should have separate single-subject spending bills. Kevin McCarthy promised that in January. He is in breach of that promise. So I'm not here to hold the government hostage. I'm here to hold Kevin McCarthy to his word.
So Matt Gaetz simply wants Kevin McCarthy to follow through on his promise to the crew that held up his speakership for 15 votes to pass focused, single spending bills to get their preferred spending passed and allow things like education and labor to go without. But McCarthy might be worried that living up to his promise and blatantly separating other spending that Republicans are repulsed by might really highlight just how much they hate regular Americans. Cutting things like public health, food safety inspections, air traffic control operations, the administration of Medicare and Social Security, education, housing, and other assistance for low-income families, things like that they want to cut. They don't want it to be highlighted. But Bartiromo wasn't done challenging Matt Gaetz on the most important objective in the Republican Party, protecting Donald Trump from himself by using more tax dollars on the Republicans' investigation into President Biden, a noble plan that Gaetz also agrees with as a top priority since Trump demanded it.
So tell me why you are threatening Speaker McCarthy and trying to shut down this government at a time that the Republicans have finally gotten some upper hands here in terms of wins, able to investigate President Biden on what looks like bribery.
Yeah, we don't put our pencils down in the investigation of President Biden during a shutdown, so the premise is false. Second, if Kevin McCarthy was actually serious about pursuing the Bidens, he would have sent Hunter Biden a subpoena by now. That's how you know this is sort of failure theater that you're observing.
The Speaker joined me a week ago and told me that he will, in fact, subpoena Hunter Biden. He said at the appropriate time, but let's be clear.
It's been 8 months. When do you think the appropriate time is?
We would not know
How many
any
months
of this.
should the American people have to wait before that subpoena is sent? You tell me.
We would we would not know anything that we know about the Biden family. 176 suspicious activity reports.
But you have to follow that to its natural conclusion. It's not enough to expose facts that get people angry and animated. You then have to follow those facts to a conclusion and to accountability. Merrick Garland will sit there and he'll answer my tough questions and he'll smirk at me or he'll obfuscate. And then guess what? He goes back to the Justice Department and the coffers are full with money from the American taxpayer that gets turned against the brave patriots in this country.
And that looks like a huge part about this. Shut down the government in hopes of derailing the freight train of accountability in the form of 91 charges over 4 cases that Trump is staring at. Again, McCarthy just might be quietly dragging his feet on this promise to Gaetz because the guy helping run the Biden investigation hasn't been looking very convincing in proving that they have anything on him.
I think tomorrow is going to be Judgment Day for the Biden administration, the Biden White House.
Congressman, do any of those bank records show cash going directly into Joe Biden's bank account?
Well, you'll see tomorrow, Jesse. They set this up to be as complicated as possible.
Okay, so because Grassley was saying alleged yesterday, so these recordings are legit. You can confirm they are legitimate.
Well, they were. I can confirm they were listed in the 1023 that the FBI redacted. We don't know if they're legit or not.
This oligarch is was a high-ranking member or owner of Burisma?
Yes, that is exactly right. So
have you had any contact with him?
Unfortunately, nobody's had any contact with him for the last 3 years. But with respect to this oligarch, we think we know where he is.
The Republican investigators say that that's proof of influence peddling by Hunter and James. But that's just your suggestion. You don't actually have any facts to that point. You've got some circumstantial evidence. And the other thing is, of all those names, the one person who didn't profit is there's no evidence that Joe Biden did anything illegally.
Congressman, what's Plan B?
Well, stay tuned, Maria. You'll be the first person that'll know, I can assure you.